So here we are, between a rock and a hard place. Ben, why are we here?
It's a great question, Brent, and it's a joy to be with you today. We're offering an update as it relates to the relationship between the local church and Christ Church. As I hope you're aware, for some months now, we've been engaged in an active discernment process where we've been seeking to deeply understand what is the relationship between Christ Church and the local church. It's been one thing for a season of time, as sort of a multi-site partnership, and now the question is, should that remain or should that become something else going forward? And so we've been engaged with Mary's Path through the North Carolina Annual Conference Office of New Faith Development, and a committee of folks from the local church and from Christ Church together throughout spring, summer, and some of fall, been discerning together what is the future of this relationship and what does it look like. And today's update is to let you know that by consensus, which doesn't always happen in a committee, right? So it's the movement of the Spirit. By consensus, everyone involved in the process, including Pastor Brent and myself, have come to the decision that we are recommending and have recommended to the annual conference through our charge conference that the local church become an independent church plant in full connection with the United Methodist Church, the North Carolina Conference, and that would be effective July 1 of 2021.
Is this biblical?
Actually, I'm really glad you asked, and it's a great time of year to be asking that question, and the answer is yes.
Okay,
We're in a season of Advent. It's a season of new beginnings. It's a season in which we talk about birth. And in fact, this process called Mary's Path is named after the beloved Mary, who gives birth to our Savior, Jesus Christ. And so, very much so, we've been following a discernment process of birthing a new place for new people through the local church, and everything about it is absolutely biblical.
Yeah, and I think too about our rhythm as followers of Jesus, our story as followers of Jesus that we live into is really the story of Jesus, one who gathers and sends, and it makes me think of the Gospel according to John, very first chapter where Jesus is calling the disciples. He says, "Come and see," and there's an invitation, there's a gathering, a convening, and then you fast forward to the end, and after Jesus' death and resurrection, he greets the disciples in the upper room, and he breathes on them, offers them his peace, and then sends them, right? And so we're just living into that story of gathering and sending. And so, yeah, you're right. Absolutely, it's biblical.
So I hear in that gathering and sending, I want to make sure what I don't hear in that, and want to be clear that we communicate, is not the word separation whatsoever. It's a gathering and a sending, but not a separation. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, and that's by design, because we don't do separation in our tradition, in our family as United Methodists. We are a connectional system, and so this is very much a sending, and not just a sending, but a sending with blessing, whether it is explicitly we bless you or not. The blessing has been there from the very beginning through the people, the resources, the generosity, the love, the prayers that Christ UMC has offered to the local church. All blessing that have enabled this thing, this movement of God's love to take root and to grow to this point in which there can be ascending. Yeah. So and in that way too, it's not a goodbye, right? It's a see you later. And there are already places that over the last couple of years we have started to work together around, and I don't see an end to that. Our connection keeps us connected, whether we are a part of the same family of faith communities or not. And so as a sent church in our connection, yeah, this is in no way goodbye.
One of the things that I've heard you say a lot, and you have, as you formed this community of faith called the local church, implicit in your name is local and contextual, and helping Jesus to become flesh in the community where you're located. And that's a different community than the one where Christ Church is located. And so in many ways, this is freeing both communities of faith up to be contextual, to be local, and to dive in deep where you are. And in some ways, that means some of the decision making that has been happening at the Christ Church campus in Southern Village, you'll now make locally at the local church level. And that's really a freeing, beautiful process, and it helps you to be nimble and quick and flexible. But yes, there will still be partnerships and relationships, and it is not at all a goodbye. It really is more about a sort of an administration way of how local governance is going to be happening for both communities of faith.
So this is a win, right?
Absolutely. I think it's a win on every front. The idea was, and always has been at Christ Church, really from the beginning, you've been birthing new congregations. We could go through the list of communities of faith that have been blessed and sent, and this is sort of that story in happening again, and what a beautiful and wonderful thing. So, and the whole idea has always been to reach new people in a new place, and so here we go, which is what Christ was about.
Yes.
I'm always moving along, meeting new people, gathering them in, sending them out, and so the pattern, the rhythm continues. I think it's an absolute win for all involved.
And because that's the DNA that the local church is born out of, that's in our DNA as the local church too, to continue that work, that movement of creating new places for new people, of loving where we are, wherever that is. And so I give God thanks that your story, the story of Christ Church, is the story of the local church as well, and that absolutely will continue.
We've talked kind of at a high 60,000 foot view. Let's get down on the ground and get a little nuts and bolts for a minute. So on a day-to-day kind of practical basis, what would people see that would be different?
I think that's a great question, and probably a question that many of you has. What does this change? What does this mean for me? And I think the reality is day to day, you'll experience very little, if any, change. The things that are currently happening will continue to happen, and so you probably won't experience a whole lot of change, if any, but where there will be significant changes are sort of under the hood, and all of the things that make church, and we're talking, as you've already alluded to, administrative and financial and governance. The local church is going to have to create and implement systems that undergird the mission and ministry of the local church, systems that we have been sharing and cooperating on as we are sent. We're going to have to create our own, and so that work will happen, which is a great opportunity for you if you want to be involved. I may be calling you to participate, but that's very much a change that's going to happen, and we're going to keep you posted about all of that.
In our ordination vows, we talk about ordering the life of the church and what it means to order. And that stuff has to happen sort of foundationally, or you might say behind the scenes, so that all the wonderful things, worship, mission, all that stuff is organized and happens well. And so I know Christ Church looks forward to helping give guidance and support in that process. And I know some of the folks who have served on some of the administrative teams in the life of Christ Church have been connected to the local church, and so you're not starting with a blank page, and certainly the larger connectional system has all kinds of infrastructure in place, so there's going to be a lot here to help. So what's next?
Well, so right now, a new phase of the Mary's Path process has begun with a few familiar faces from the 1.0 Mary's Path team, with some new additions, some fresh perspective as well. And that team is meeting regularly between now and next June and July, to sort of put the meat on the bones, to work out the logistics and to answer all the questions that we have about what this means, what this looks like. And so we are absolutely going to keep you posted about the work that they are doing on a regular basis, because you might have questions about membership or finances and all kinds of things, and this is the team that's going to help us figure out those the answers to those questions. And so we're going to keep you posted about that, and we covet your prayers and your support as this process unfolds.
This has been our attempt to sort of let you know this news and try to anticipate some of your questions, but despite as thorough as we've attempted to be, my guess is you might still have some questions, or you maybe have some curiosities, and so you can email either one of us and we'd be happy to respond, or you can talk to Lauren Frady, who's connected to the local church, or Peggy Ising, who is part of the Christ Church family. So you can reach out to any of them and they'll be happy to answer your questions. Take care. God bless.
Thanks.